Hi, I'm Kathleen Jasper, and I was a career changer, meaning that I got a degree in something else and became a teacher. And that was met with lots of challenges that I want to share with you today, because I know a lot of you are changing your careers and becoming teachers. And you may just want to get a little heads up on some of the things that you're going to face. And I'm going to share some of my challenges that I faced. Let's get started. So, a lot of people know this about my story, but I'll just reiterate it very quickly here. I got a degree in English from Florida State University, and I started my master's in public administration. I thought I was going to work in government, possibly become a politician, maybe a representative or something like that in Florida. And I was sort of aimlessly going through life. I was bartending at the time. And my mother, who was a career educator, she was a principal at the time, told me, why don't you start substitute teaching and see if you like it? And I was like, ugh, mom, I don't want to do that. But I did, and I ended up loving it. And I got a permanent sub position at a high school near my house. And I was helping coach the cross country team with my mentor. And I actually started teaching in that permanent sub position in the middle of the year. The teacher retired after Christmas break. And I never understood, like, how could you do that? How could you retire mid-year? Now that I've been a teacher, I can totally see why someone would retire mid-year. When you're done, you're done. But I had the opportunity of teaching high school biology, which I had no idea how to teach. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. That group of students changed my life for the good, and it was very challenging. They gave me a run for my money. I talk a lot about it in my book, Teach: A Survival Guide for New Educators. But starting mid-year, as a young person, I was only, 26, I believe, and they are 18, 19 years old. So it was a challenging for real. But I'm going to talk to you about a few things that I encountered that you may want to think about as a career changer yourself. So, number one, I was envisioning, what I see in the movies like Dead Poets Society and Dangerous Minds and Freedom Writers, all of these really cool teaching stories where you have these groups of students and you're discussing world issues and, the whole thing. Now, I will say I have had those moments in teaching, especially teaching high school. High school students are incredibly insightful. Just when you think they don't care about anything, turns out they actually do care about a lot of things. But as a whole, it is not like the movies. The workload is intense. There are a lot of state mandates, district mandates that come down. Teaching to the standards was something that I had never been taught, that there were actually these lists of standards I had to make sure that I was teaching to. And so there's a lot of nuance to teaching that I wasn't prepared for. I certainly got it as I taught over time, but if I were brand new coming in again as a career changer, I would for sure get to know the standards for the content area that I am teaching and understand the curriculum map and the academic plan. And those can all be accessed from your district website or your state website. You can also use ChatGPT to help you come up with an academic plan using those standards. I'll do subsequent videos on that in a later date, but the biggest thing is that there are a set of standards that govern your content area, your grade level, and all of that. And you have to make sure you are teaching to those standards. When I first started teaching, I was just using the textbook. And then I liked certain things in the textbook. And so I was like focusing on those. And it was fun and everything. But then the assistant principal came in and said, "You're teaching to the standards, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally. I'm teaching to the standards." I didn't even know what a standard was. So there's not a lot of training. They sort of give you the keys to the classroom, a teacher edition, and they say, "Good luck." And then they come in and say, "Well, you're not teaching to the standards. You're not doing this." Well, nobody trained me to do that. Don't say that. Just say, "Yeah, sure," and then figure it out. But that's one thing. Find the standards, figure those out, and really make sure that you're aligning your teaching that the best you can. You're not going to be perfect at it right out the gate. Okay. Now, the second thing that really threw me for a loop was how much students struggle. As a high schooler myself, I was not a perfect student. I actually got in a lot of trouble in high school, but I was in advanced classes. So everything I knew was students around me who were, in advanced classes. I was in AP and honors. And so when I became a teacher and I was teaching regular general ed, I realized how much students struggle to write, how they struggle to read. And if I really go back and look at my own performance, I was really good at meeting expectations, but my reading skills, my writing skills still needed a lot of work. I didn't become a really good reader and writer until graduate school, to be honest with you. That's when things really started clicking for me. A lot of it was just checking the boxes. But I realized as a general ed teacher in biology that many of my students had a hard time reading and writing. And when I would receive their work, I thought, oh my gosh, like this is not good. And so right away, I had to start figuring out how to help these students meet those expectations. So, one of the things that you need to understand, especially if you were someone who was in advanced classes, you're going to see a lot of students who have not received the skills. Maybe they didn't receive proper instruction. Sometimes, a kid is going up through school and maybe they had a substitute or a bunch of substitutes for the entire year. That can really hinder their progress in reading and writing. They may have learning disabilities. You're just not equipped to, helping them with. And so have an open mind, don't get discouraged, and do your best to meet those students where they are. And you can ask other teachers, hey, have you encountered this? How do you help students with this issue? And you can even ask the student quietly, not in front of everybody, but hey, I noticed you have a little trouble with, your sentence structure. What can I do to help you with this? And just, communicate and seek out that professional development to help those students, because students struggle. It's hard. And school is harder now than it used to be honest with you. I mean, I'm looking at what the students are doing today. It's a lot different than what we were doing when we were in school. So just keep an open mind in that area, and you will be surprised at some of the skill level on the low end, students who struggle. And then also you'll be surprised at how gifted some of your students are if you have the opportunity to teach both the students who struggle and the students who are, high achieving. I had classrooms with both. I taught students who needed a lot of support, and I had students who were very self-motivated in advanced classes. And I loved that because it gave me the full spectrum of students. I absolutely loved having a mix. Some teachers only like to teach advanced, and some teachers only like to teach students who struggle. I really loved having classes that had my students who needed a lot of support all the way up to my advanced ACE Cambridge students who were, really motivated and wanting to go to like Ivy League universities and things like that. I loved both. That brings me to my, next part. Don't try to outsmart the students. One of the things that I learned early on from teaching advanced students is that they ask really good questions that I didn't necessarily know the answers to. And there was this moment where a student asked me, do thoughts have mass? Okay. It was like, I have no idea. Thoughts are things. They're not tangible things, but do they have mass? I don't know. They also asked me some complex questions about carbon at the time. I was teaching advanced biology. I did not know the answers to these questions. And rather than try to BS these students, I knew that was not going to work. And so I admitted, hey, that's a really good question. I've never been asked that before. Let's explore this together. And, I threw up Google. We started Googling it. We started, kind of going down the rabbit hole of figuring out this question. And that was much better than me going, oh, yeah, totally. Thoughts have mass, blah, 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 and trying to outsmart them. They will snuff you out, especially middle and high school. You will not be able to pretend like you know something that you do not. It is okay to say, that's a great question. I don't know. I do not know the answer to that question. Let's figure that out together. Or extra credit. How about you guys figure out the answer to that question and you can present that to me tomorrow? Put it on them. They asked the question, figure it out. And offer them some extra credit. And then it becomes a really cool classroom discussion. That question, the do thoughts have mass? I still see some of my former students talking about that online and how it became like a really fun day in my biology classroom. And they're like 20, I don't even know how old they are now, 27, 26 years old now. When before that happened, they were a lot younger. So don't try to outsmart them. Just say you don't know and figure out a way to learn it together. The next thing I would say is that you should not walk into a classroom just expecting respect from your students. I know that as like an older person, I'm Gen X. I came up in school in 1988 and 1989 and 1990 and all of that, middle and high school. And it was just expected that you sat there and you respected teachers, although we were bad too. I mean, people say, oh, kids these days, we were terrible. Okay. I was skipping school. I was doing things I wasn't supposed to be doing. So let's just stop with the kids these days thing. They're kids. They're the same. We've all been there doing this stuff. Okay. But one of the things I see a lot of bus drivers and teachers and people kind of in a position of authority, they walk in and they immediately expect respect. And I will tell you that that's not the way it works. When you give respect to students, they will give respect to you. And that doesn't mean being a pushover. That doesn't mean just allowing them to do whatever they want. That means showing up on time, having routines and procedures in your classroom so students know what to expect. It means being fair. It means not playing got you with the rules and things like that. It means treating them like human beings, that they actually have lives. They're going through divorces. They have economic hardships just like we do, and understanding that and cutting them a break from time to time. It also means expecting the best out of them and helping them achieve that. And so as you do that, they will respect you. If you walk in dressed like a slob and you're late and you're just because you're the teacher doesn't mean they're going to respect you. So really set the tone, respect them first. They deserve your respect and you deserve their respect, but you're the adult. And so you have to model how you want them to treat you. So treat them the way you want to be treated. And that doesn't mean that you don't have authority. In fact, people with a lot of power treat people with respect first, and then they will respect you. Now, you're always going to have the one-off days. You're always going to have the one-off student who is going to push you. That's just the way it is. Keep your cool. Do your best and make sure that you respect them and they will respect you back. And that brings me to the last point, bad days. You are going to have bad days and you are going to have days where a particular student pushes you. I have had those days. I was an assistant principal after I was a teacher, and there were a couple of students who really did not like me. And to be honest, I really did not like them at the time. And, we butted heads and I've lost my cool before it happens. But those bad days should not dictate the rest of your days. I made a decision early on that if a student acted up or really made my life miserable, I was going to start over the following day, because if you hold grudges against kids, it kind of makes your job really difficult. So there are going to be days where you get very upset. There were days I cried in my car. I had to go out during lunch and sit in my car and have a good cry. It happens. You are doing one of the toughest jobs. But I would say do the best you can to let those days go once they're done and give each student a fresh start. Those days will become far and few between when you get to know your students and have these, established routines and procedures and you both respect one another, but it is going to happen and it's okay. You are not a perfect person and they are not perfect people. So do your best to let it go and hold on to the good days, because there are more good days than bad. Those moments where your students go, oh my God, I get it now. Like, that is the best feeling in the world. When you have been teaching students, whatever, math, social studies, biology, writing, anything. And then all of a sudden a student goes and the light bulb goes off. That is why we teach. That is the moment. So hold on to those moments. They are amazing. Bad days happen, but it's fine. You'll get over it. I promise. Good cry in your car and it's all good. So those are the things I would go over if I were talking to myself as a career changer, things that you're not necessarily prepared for. And these are just good things for any new teacher and a veteran teacher. You might be a veteran teacher and you forgot what it was like to be new. I get that too. I've been there myself. So good luck this year with your teaching experience. Good luck with your interviews, and let us know in the comments if you have any questions. Have a good day.